In this video lecture, you are going to learn about mycorrhizae, a symbiotic association between plant roots and fungi. Let me see the definition first. So the term mycorrhizae means myco means fungus and rhiza means plant roots. It is a kind of symbiotic association between fungal mycelial mass with plant roots. So how both are symbiotically benefited. What happens here? Plants are autotrophic mode of nutrition because of the photosynthetic pigments present in the chloroplast in the green leaf structure. It can able to do the metabolism of photosynthesis. As the end product of photosynthesis, it can able to store food material in the form of carbohydrate. So that carbohydrate is taken by the fungi, which is associated with the plant roots. In return from fungi, because of its profusely branched mycelial mass, whatever the water, mineral nutrients and unavailable insoluble nutrient which is present deep inside the soil, which the plant root cannot able to penetrate, this fungal mass can able to derive those mineral nutrients and water deep from the soil, and it return to the plant. So this is how both are mutually benefited, and this association of fungi and plant, which we call it as mycorrhizae. Okay, so in this interaction, not only the fungi and host plant alone is interacted, it needs some beneficial soil factors also. The physicochemical properties, biological properties, and chemical properties. So the soil factors also have to involve for the successive interaction, mutualistic interaction between the respective fungi with the respective plant host in addition to the soil factor. So that we call it as symbiotic association. So now we are going to see what are all the types of mycorrhizae. We have major two types. One is ectomycorrhizae, other one is endomycorrhizae. Okay, the third one is intermediate. It is a combination of both ecto and endomycorrhizae. We call it as ectendomycorrhizae. So here endomycorrhizae is again divided into four subtypes. First one is ericoid mycorrhizae. Ericoid mycorrhizae usually in the ericoid family. That is berries, blueberry, raspberry, then blackberry. So these family, that is ericoid family members, have the association of some specific genus of fungi having the symbiotic association. We call it as ericoid mycorrhizae. And orchid mycorrhizae, especially the orchid plant. Okay, so before its seedlings, they are totally non-photosynthetic in nature, non-phototropic in mode. Once the seed matures, if it opens away from the seed coat, so that time it needs a symbiotic association. It needs the infection of fungi to grow further, to do the photosynthesis, because it derives nutrition completely from the fungi in which it is associated with. Then arbosicular mycorrhizae, it is a special kind of mycorrhizae producing a special structure called arbosicles, where the mineral salts or nutrients it stores in the form of spore kind of structure. We call it as arbosicular mycorrhizae. So this kind of especially arbosicular and vesicular mycorrhizae especially seen in corn plant, bean and cotton plant. And the other one is the ectendomycorrhizae. It is here the ectendomycorrhizae. Here the colonization, the penetration of fungal mycelium happens in between the cells also and inside the cell also. Otherwise you can use the term intercellularly or intracellularly. So ectendomycorrhizae, it is a combination of ectomycorrhizae and endomycorrhizae. So if you see the hyphal colonization of fungi, it can able to penetrate both intercellularly or intracellularly. Let me see one by one how the structure is. I told you major types of mycorrhizae. We have two major type of mycorrhizae. One is ectomycorrhizae, other one is endomycorrhizae. So this picture clearly depicts you. Ectomycorrhiza means, just assume this is one cell and the green part is the fungal mycelium. Ecto means superficially or intercellularly. Inter means in between the cells. If the fungal mycelium colonizes a higher plant root, we call it, that colonization is ectomycorrhizae. The second type of mycorrhizae is endomycorrhizae. See the picture here. The fungal mycelium, if it colonizes inside the cell, which means intracellularly, we call that type of symbiotic association of fungi with higher plant roots, we call it as endomycorrhizae. Let me see more clear. So ectomycorrhizae, see the picture here. I told you ectomycorrhizae completely covered by pseudoparenchymatous sheath formed by fungal hyphae. It is a part of root cell. It is a part of root cell. Here see the arrow mark here, these the thickening of cells, we call it as the ectomycorrhizae. So this thickening of cells, we call it as ectomycorrhizae. It is nothing but the colonization of fungal mycelium intercellularly. Here you can see only it colonizes the intercellular spaces, it doesn't colonize intracellularly. And the colonization also restricted only to the cortical region. It doesn't go deep inside the pith, pericycle, endodermis and all. So ectomycorrhizae means it colonizes fungal mycelium which is having the symbiotic association with any plant root, colonizes only in between the cells. If it colonizes, you could see here like a sheath kind of nature. So that sheath we call it as hearting net. Especially ectomycorrhizae type of symbiotic association formation takes place only by the members of Basidiomycotina fungus. You might have heard about agaricus, bisporus and all. So those fungi and all coming under Basidiomyces fungi. So the members of Basidiomycotina fungi usually colonizes symbiotically the intercellular spaces of the plant root, which it forms a symbiotic association. The second type is endomycorrhizae. As the name itself it indicating endo, which means inside the cell. Okay, so here this picture depict the endomycorrhiza association. Here see these are all the cells inside some purplish color. No, so that is the fungal hyphae. See here there is no colonization in between the cells. It is colonizing intracellularly, that is inside the cell only. These fungal members having the symbiotic association with any plant root colonizes intracellularly only. It won't penetrate in between the cell. Okay, so here once it penetrate inside the cell, it can able to produce some special kind of structure to store the mineral nutrients, water, insoluble nutrients into soluble form. So those structure we call it as vesicles and orbicicles. So especially endomycorrhizae fungus, the members of zygomycotina fungus, especially the members of zygomycotina fungus, form the endomycorrhiza association. It penetrates only inside the cell. It doesn't penetrate in between the cell. Intracellular colonization of zygomycotina members, that forms the endomycorrhizal symbiotic association. So here this picture you can able to verify, you can able to compare the endomycorrhizae and ectomycorrhizae. I told you endomycorrhizae for more common type, endomycorrhizae is more commonly found symbiotic association in higher plant roots. If you see the hyphae penetrates the root cell, which means it penetrates inside the cell, which means intracellularly you can use the word. Then second one is ectomycorrhizae. See the hyphae do not penetrate root cell, it doesn't penetrate inside the cell, whereas it penetrates in between the cell. This is intercellularly, that's why it is ectomycorrhizae. The second type is endomycorrhizae, penetrate inside the cell intracellularly. I told you endomycorrhizae, when it penetrates inside the cell, it can able to produce a special kind of structure. We call it as orbicicles and vesicles. So this is how the orbicicles and vesicles look like. So these structures are meant for, I already told, the symbiotic association. Both partners are benefited. So fungi, because of its profusely branched mycelial mass, it can penetrate deep inside the soil structure and bring back and bring out the minerals, nutrients, water, insoluble nutrients to the plants. So whereas in written from the plant, it is taking carbohydrate, the end product of photosynthesis. The insoluble, the absorbed nutrients, the endomycorrhizae, it can able to store in the form of storage packet, we call it as orbicicles and vesicles. Okay, so plant also having root, it can able to penetrate to certain length only. If it is having colonization, symbiotic association with the respective fungus, because of the highly profusely branched mycelial mass of the fungus when compared to plant, it can able to penetrate deep inside the soil. It derives the nutrients, minerals and water, and it stores in the form of vesicles and vesicles. Whenever it signals any demand, any starvation for any nutrition, so that signals is get by the fungus, and in return this orbicicles or vesicle that breaks and releases the nutrition to the plant. In return it take carbohydrate from the plant as a end product of photosynthesis. This is how the mechanism of symbiotic relationship between mycorrhizae, sorry, fungi and plant root happens. We call it as mycorrhizae. And third category, I told you, it is a combination of ectomycorrhizae and endomycorrhizae. So that's why the name was given ectendomycorrhizae. Here you can see the colonization of fungal mycelial mass in between the cells also, inside the cells also. It is stained by lactophenol cotton root. That's why it is showing purplish in color. Here you could see the in between the cells also, this mycorrhizal member can able to colonize. Inside the cells also it can able to colonize. This is the third category, that is the combination of ecto mycorrhizae and endomycorrhizae. That's why it is given ectendomycorrhizae. So the members forming ectendomycorrhizae, it can able to penetrate inside the cells also, which means intracellularly also, or in between the cells also. Otherwise you can see, you can tell intercellularly. That's why the third category is ectendomycorrhizae. That is the third type. Okay, and finally, what is the benefits of mycorrhizal fungi? There are variety of benefits. That's why they both are mutually benefited. It is a symbiotic association between the fungi and with the plant roots. The first one is root growth. See the picture here. Without mycorrhizal colonization, the root won't reach much length deep into the soil. If with mycorrhizae, if you see, it helps the root to promote faster growth, increase the surface area of the plant root which it colonizes. It promote the plant root growth very fast, increases the surface area of the plant root which it colonizes 50 times, increased for absorption of nutrients and other minerals. It increases the root surface area of the plant which it colonizes, so that it can able to absorb the nutrients and other minerals from deep inside the soil. The second one is nutrient efficiency. It enables the plant to access soil nutrient beyond the reach of the normal plant root. It happens only if it is having association with the fungi. That's why the picture is depicted. Without mycorrhizae, see the length of the root. With mycorrhizae, see the length. Okay, and the fungi also can excrete some organic acid to release soil-bound nutrients. So in addition to that, it helps the plant to convert the insoluble nutrients into soluble form because of its organic acid, and it gives to the plant from which it colonizes. In return, it is taking the carbohydrate. And absorption of water, not only water, other minerals also. It helps the plant to grow the root further more faster to derive the nutrient. In addition, if plant cannot take the insoluble nutrient in such condition, the fungi, it produces some organic acids that converts the insoluble nutrients into the soluble nutrients, and it gives the plant. Okay, and in addition, the endomycorrhizae, I told you, it produces some specialized kind of structure, orbicicles and vesicle. So those soluble and stored minerals are stored in the form of orbicicle and vesicle. Whenever the signal come from the plant, if it is starving for any minerals, what happen? Either orbicles or vesicles, the fungi breaks and it gives the nutrition to the plant. This is how the symbiotic relationship of mycorrhizal fungi happens. Okay, so from this lecture, I hope you can understand the concept of mycorrhizae, how the symbiotic association happens, what are all the types of mycorrhizal fungus, and the benefits of mycorrhizal fungus to the plants. Thank you. Hope you understood.